Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wolf Game Theory. I'm Layer Cake here with Neo Bottle and Roxa, and today we're going to break down what's going on in the land of the Alpha Game. Today I want to talk to Roxa a little bit. We'll bring him up first, and we're going to talk about the moves of the day today. There's been a lot of action, and let me tell you, it came in hot this morning with a serious attack by Panther. Well, it was actually Fortification, I believe, was his first move today. And I think everybody can agree with me here that Fortification was probably what everybody assumed that was going to happen first right out the gate. I thought everybody was for sure going to build up those fortifications before attack. But then we had Shamdu right there in last place, and he came out hot, throwing bombs over the fence at Mr. Corey in first place. So let's get into that today. First with Roxa, who's here to talk to us a little bit about his analysis and the things that he feels are going according to plan in his mind and things that kind of caught him off guard. So if you want to start off, Roxa, we can talk a little bit about your projection and how you feel this game is going right off the bat.
Hey, thank you for having me here, guys. So it's looking good. It's exciting. Definitely nail biting so far. A lot of actions has happened, as you just mentioned. 14 actions. So every kingdom already did what they were planning to do. So essentially, right off the bat, as of now, as we're speaking, there's 80% of the wolves staked, 74% of the sheep staked, and around 66% of the wool staked. So we've only been a little bit less than 3 days in the game, but we already have these massive numbers. So there's barely any supply more or less left in the market. So you're talking about like 20 to 30% supply across the board. And as we move forward with the game, that supply is going to decrease, and then it's going to be harder to unstake because unstaking will start costing real money. So I would definitely expect, obviously not financial advice, but like I would definitely expect prices across the board to increase, just like from a macro level analysis thingy. So far, Crypto Coach is leading the chart. He's at 410,000 points, 415,000, and that's a 33% lead off of Panther, the second guy. And this means he needs to be attacked like 10, 11 times, to go down one rank, which is a lot. Like at this stage, it is a lot. So yeah, things are looking hot. And
Is
yeah,
there anything that surprised you right off the bat? If you wanted to talk a little bit about how you felt the game was going to start. Did you believe that Fortification was going to be everybody's first move, or did you anticipate attacks coming right out the gate?
Yeah, I honestly believe that fortifications were going to happen at the beginning of the game and then attacks later on. Just because attacks are not very effective at the moment unless they're taking down fortifications. So a 3% today is like what? It will take you down 10,000 points, 15,000 points, whereas a 3% 30 days, 45 days down the road will take you down 200,000 points, 300,000 points, which is like a couple of days of points accruing, as opposed to a couple of hours of points accruing. So I was expecting to see more fortifications, to be fair, as opposed to attacks. I was surprised by some of the lower ranked kingdoms at the moment attacking highest ranked kingdoms. So we've seen, I think, like rank Shamdu was attacking like rank 8. I think it was bullish. We've seen Fenrir attack Crypto Coach. So I wasn't expecting those, which kind of tells you there's some alliances going behind the scenes. Like why would a rank 14 kingdom attack a rank 2 or 3 kingdom? So yeah, that's kind of interesting to see. I'd like to hear your take on that as well.
Neil, did you have anything to say in retort to that?
Yeah. I found that very interesting. I was trying to work out some of the maths myself and why they do that, and I think it might be something to do with allegiances and kind of coming straight out the gate aggressively on behalf of another team, or just to show that you are against another team, and then start to build up your fortifications from there. It's certainly going to be interesting to watch them as the attacks progress, and I'm really interested to see what we can do with that. So, like, looking at charts as to see who the most aggressive player is in terms of their attacks early on versus the most offensive strategies, And the more data that we're going to have, the more we'll be able to kind of look at those things in the future when you come on, Roxa. And I'm really excited about that element because I suppose it is still so early days, isn't it?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, yeah, it was kind of mind blowing in the beginning, and I think when I woke up this morning, being Pacific Coast time, there were a couple actions that were taken. You know, it was kind of. I woke up and Crypto Corey had already been attacked once, and then his fortification had been attacked, and he had yet to make a move. So there was a lot of suspense in the air, and people were kind of wondering what was going on because Corey left his move up there for so long, and so everyone was kind of a little bit taken aback, and that could be strategy too. That could be him kind of making people feel like he's scrambling and doesn't know what's going on, but it could all well be a very calculated attack. I think the most fascinating thing to me up to this point has been just the way the information is being distributed down the line. So, a lot of us are getting our information from Twitter. A lot of us are getting our information from Discord. And as you know, I don't necessarily, or I would say I take things with a grain of salt in that capacity. So I do urge everyone out there to take the information they are getting on Twitter and even within their own Discords with a grain of salt, and just stick close to the leadership and try to develop a real nice communication channel with the leadership of your particular house, and just stand strong, because I think that's going to be in the end the best strategy. As we get along in this game and as we get further down the road, it's going to be risky, more risky, and more lack of a financial benefit to unstake from a team. So, if we see a mad scramble, I feel like a lot of people are anticipating a lot of shifting around of teams, a lot of shifting around of animals. But I think that's yet to be seen. I think people are digging in a little bit more than people realize. What do you think, Roxa? Do you think that, or I guess I should ask you, if you didn't have an animal staked right now, what would you be thinking, and how would you be going into this game at this point?
I mean, it depends on like what are your motives. Like, if you were here like from the beginning and you kind of like found your community and like found where you fit, like obviously go with those people, because ultimately it's more about like being part of a community, being part of the game. Like, it's kind of like a long-term relationship thing. It's not like only about making money, ultimately. If you like just got in here and you don't know anybody, to be fair, I mean, most of us are like money driven, like in this space, like, and it would make sense for you to. There's a website, maybe we can link it later on. It's called like wolfbrain.eth. It kind of tells you how much you would make if you stake whatever assets you want to stake, like depending on what you have. How much would you make if you stake that in each team? So it kind of gives you an idea of where to stake. But again, like, be careful ultimately where you stake, because if anyone is thinking the same terms, like, and they're going to the highest earning team, then that team will be diluted and it won't be the highest earning team. So, yeah. So that's my take on that.
And again, there's just a lot of speculation swirling about, how everybody feels this game is somewhat a little eerily quiet at this point, and everyone's sort of sitting and waiting for moves and watching what happens. And there's sort of an anticipation for some sort of interim to the interim, I guess is what I would say. Some sort of challenge or game that will come about to sort of throw a monkey wrench in the comfort and sort of fun everybody's having, just bearing witness to this battle sort of work itself out here. I do want to ask Neil a question, if I could.
Sure.
How do you feel if you were to have animals right now, and you were not staking the animals? Judging by the first moves that were made here today, where would you be looking to stake your animal?
I would probably look for kind of from a standpoint of standing outside. I'd probably be looking to get into a new team. I'd be looking towards the bottom of the table, I think, myself, to sprinkle a little bit into one of those teams. My tactic is stake early, commit, and follow through till the end. I don't plan on unstaking, but again, who knows what will be thrown at us. Um, but yeah, I think I'd sprinkle something down the bottom of the team, or again, as you said, like I think it's a game we're playing. I'm playing to kind of get to know more people, get to know more alpha within the space, networking. Those sorts of elements are way more important to me than the size of my pouch at the end of the game. I'd rather have the camaraderie within it, and the kind of we're all going to get decent pouches hopefully. So I as far as the kind of difference between the size it could be, yeah, you could be playing, but you could be chasing a zero sum game, switching in and out. I know. I'd love to hear Roxa talk a little bit about the kind of possibility of the highest yield being at the start when it comes to points. I think he mentioned something about that before. But yeah, I like if I know I have wool coming. I'll be just. I'd love to kind of think about sprinkling it down the bottom somewhere, just in those lower teams to just see. But it would be that would be a long term bet on a small team for a larger share of their smaller pouch. I'd be betting on them staying down there at the bottom.
No doubt.
Yeah, and I'd like to add what you were saying. Essentially, like the way I see it, the game at the individual level is to select a team and commit to it. Like that's the challenge. Some people will be chasing like the numbers and like trying to go here and there, but I think ultimately, like on average, you're likely to lose money doing that scenario, like switching teams here and there, than to make actual money. So just like commit to a team, and hope for the best, because we're still like 3 days in. You never know what could happen. Like the worst performing team in terms of rewards could end up being the best team, just because a lot of people are gonna change from the worst to the best, and so on and so forth. Plus, you never know like what like these curveballs that are gonna be thrown mid game and that are promised to be thrown. So it's not like speculation. We're expecting something to happen. So
yeah.
So yeah. So stick. Like ultimately, the best play, as I see it, is to stick to the team.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, if we look in the code, and I mentioned this on yesterday's stream, it specifically mentions loyalty. So, one thing I do kind of want to bring up and kind of switch gears a little bit, I guess more like downshifting, and that's let's talk about wool a little bit. Obviously, this game has been a welcome distraction to what we all see as sort of the elephant in the corner of the room, and that's the state of the union in the crypto markets currently. We see a lot of blood out there, and a lot of people really aren't too happy. I mean, if you've been through a crypto winter before, the stomach isn't necessarily turning. It's just I kind of feel more for people that haven't. And so, with the price of wool being what it is right now, and this game being a welcome sort of distraction from the state of the union, do you see yourself purchasing wool at these prices? And do you see yourself accumulating wool, not just for the game, but just in general as a good time to buy? And if so, can you go over, and this message, I guess, is for Roxa first, and then I would love for Neil to weigh in as well. Are you looking for a particular buy point to get in at this point, or are you just kind of every point is good and we're going up from here?
Yeah. So my take on that might be different than like most people, I would say, because I'm not like a technical analyst. I consider myself like a long-term holder kind of person. So I find projects that I like and I just commit to them, and like I basically buy the dips. Like every time I see a 20-30% dip, I buy. Whatever the case, like if I like a project, or like the investment vehicle, whatever it is, I just buy the dips. And that's what I've been doing like ever since I got into crypto back in 2017, and that's worked out. And that would be the exact same for Wolf Game. So there's a good dip right now, just because the whole market is going down. So I mean, altcoins in general tend to follow Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., just because it's like that's how it kind of is. And yeah, I would definitely buy the dip, especially since like we're actually locking the wool. And right now, the pricing, it's not being factored that wool is being locked because you can unlock it easily. But like as time passes by, unlocking it is more expensive. Like it's gonna cost you a lot of money to unlock. So it actually starts to become actually locked wool. And then it's then when people realize, okay, like now we can't unlock, and then to buy wool, it's a premium. Like the Alpha 8s are gonna pay a huge premium to buy this wool, because at the end it's gonna like seconds or like a bit of wool could make or break the who wins. So I think like this is like 1 month from now. I honestly don't expect that the prices will be like this. Like I would say there will be much higher than what we're seeing today. But again, who knows? It's all speculation. Yeah.
Right. No, that's a great take. What about you, Neil? What are you thinking about wool right now? Are you thinking load up?
Yeah, I was only talking to people about the wool earlier on, and I was kind of looking at some of the points. Like, was we came down and found support at around the kind of 27, and went back up to around 30, 38 cent. Well, we went all the way back up to almost 50 cent, and then kind of settled at 37 cent before dipping right down to this dip that we're on at the moment, which bounced as low as 21 cent. But we've seen that 21 cent floor once before after that kind of first sell off, and then again there's quite a few contact points at that 21 cent mark. So I believe that we're not going to see that again. That from here on out we will kind of grow upwards. But if we are going down, it's going to test that 21 again at the moment. Coming up, we're looking at resistances, I'd say around the 36 cent mark. And that will be our next resistance going upwards. But yeah, it's certainly exciting to see. I know the overall crypto market, as you said, is kind of in a downward trend at the moment, but as we know, they can change suddenly and aggressively. So yeah, definitely holding through this dip and trying to accumulate more at certain price points. But I think it's a buy now for me. All right, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, honestly, between you and me, the smartest thing to do if you didn't want to sort of try to play the market volatility up and down is just buy it and stake it. You know, at this point, there's a staking opportunity bound. You're not going to lose. So I feel like, purchasing wool at this price, like Neil said, between, say, 21 and 35 cents, you're not going to lose. I think you're gonna come out on top on that. And I don't think that I'm aligned with G Money's team. I think full disclosure, I will always come out and say that I'm with G Money until the end. I put my animals in there, I put my wool in there. But if I do pick up more wool, I think it would be somewhat intriguing to spread it out a little. I think it would be somewhat intriguing to offer my subtle rewards to teams that I feel like are benefiting my original position. It's almost like, investing in an ETF per se. You believe in a technology, you bet in it, you spread your money out through several sectors. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If my animals and the majority of my wool are staked with one team, that's where my loyalty is. I don't see any harm in spreading out gains and playing the wool game and staking with other teams that could bring you a higher reward or a lower reward, but a reward nonetheless. Thanks, you guys, very much for that. I appreciate the wool analysis. I think that's something we should be doing every day.
For sure.
As for the sorry, go ahead, bro.
If I can add to that, like if anyone purchases wool today and stakes it in any of the pools, let's say the worst pool there is, regardless of who it is, they're gonna make around 2 times the wool back in pouches. So essentially, if you buy 10,000 wool, you're getting a 20,000 wool reward. So So you're basically paying 1/3 of the price if you buy it now and stake it. So that's kind of also another like advantage or like pro, let's say, to actually buy wool and stake it.
One thing I do wonder is, let's say I was gonna stick with a team and I was gonna accumulate wool and continue staking throughout the game. Um, is the reward at the end of the game dependent upon the total amount of wool that I have staked compared to the winning pouch? So if I continue to add to that position, or is it the amount of wool compared to the time in which I committed the stake? Does that make sense? I don't know if that's too much.
Yeah. So for animals, it's time based. So you accrue points from the day you basically stake, and I would assume it's the same for wool, but I'd have to double check on that. To be fair, maybe Neil, if you know the actual answer, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm unsure myself. It's something I've kind of been trying to figure out is the exact measurements for that metric of the wool you stake, because I know it affects the time on the time of actions, and I know it affects the time of the, or say, versus you want to manage the right ratio between the amount of wool you have on animals to get your time down. But I'm unsure about that now, to be honest. But we'll definitely look into that and maybe come back to it tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
good
a very
question.
interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting play, because in that case, I wouldn't necessarily spread my wool around. I would just continue adding to the position I had in that case. But I digress. I guess I want to go back to a point I made earlier, and that's the information that's being shared out here. We're all sort of getting our information from Twitter, and we're getting our information from our Discords. And I know personally from other animals and other Discords I've talked to that there is misinformation being seeded out there. They are, going after high profile Twitter accounts and news agents, quote unquote news, Wolf Game news accounts, and sort of, yeah, again, planting information in there that they necessarily would like in order to perhaps throw off teams, throw off stakers. Um, so just when you're out there gathering information about how people are going to be acting in this game, just take all that with a grain of salt, and just know that us here, we are a completely unbiased situation. We want to speak to the game, and that's why I think we all sort of disclose our positions right off the bat, because I believe, and I think everyone here in this group believes, that this is a zero-sum game. Everybody's winning, and it's all for the good of the ecosystem that we all play. I just think we should all be playing with the right information and playing so that we all want to put ourselves in the best position to come out happy at the end, and not sort of resentful or anything like that. But I do want to speak to a story or some sort of Twitter information that was broke by Brian DeSanto, and he actually had sort of facilitated a little bit of an exodus from Crypto Corey's team by stating that another team had offered animals to come over to their side. So now we have someone that is sort of a unbiased situation now, being commandeered to help another team. So I find that super interesting and super
We'll have to
awesome
have
as well.
Brian on now and chat to him about that, I
Right,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Better hold his feet to the fire on that one, man. But again, it's all in good fun. I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
Cloak and Dagger, Game of Thrones, you name it. Any of those intrigue, mystery, and strategy scenarios are always going to sort of get my goat in the end, because it's the psychology of it all that really is fascinating to me in the end, and I really like to converse with people who have outlandish and wild theories on how things are going to go, and then people like Roxa who are very sort of mathematically and information driven, so that we really get the facts and we get the true data to make a informed decision. But yeah, that's pretty much the state of Wolf Game right now. I wasn't sure if you wanted to go through any of the GIFs. They're pretty amazing.
Yeah, I have them up. I've just been kind of scrolling through them here for the viewers. Yeah, I just want a particular notice to the one that happens when somebody becomes attacked, where
Ah,
you have the black wolf sitting in the hole and the sheep that's covered in soot, little wolf hanging up in the tree. You know, it's a really cool gift. This one's my favorite out of the gifts so far. I do
oh,
like.
really? Wow.
Well, no, like out of the alpha game gifts.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
whoa.
Out of the alpha game gifts, this is my favorite. But yeah, I do like the one with the gold intelligent wolf, and then the two ones with the hands up in the air doing the little dance. And
And that's an alpha. Is that an alpha eight there?
there's an alpha 8, and he puts his hands up
Yeah.
in the air, and then you have the intelligent glasses gold wolf, which is that's just a fantastic looking wolf. I think it's only an alpha 5, but oh, it's lovely. Um,
Well, I just kind of wanted to get one more little prediction. If anybody has any sort of little predictions they can share for a few moments, we can start with Roxon and just see if he has any predictions for the next move or next phase of the game. Any teams that he feels are going to, if Corey's going to remain in the lead, or if he's going to be sort of threatened at any point. Is what do you think, Rox? So what do you foresee in the next couple of moves here?
Um, it looks like you can see like clusters of kingdoms at the moment. So you see like the first, there are top three clusters and their points of kind of like very close to each other. Then you see like the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. They are one cluster like with like points closer together. Then you have like the remaining. They are one cluster with points remaining together. So I would see them like going back and forth between each other within these clusters, but it seems in the short run, it's hard for any of those. So let's say number 4, it's hard for ranking number 4, which is Crypto Coach, to jump to number 3, just because like there's a huge point difference between those. But I would definitely see it if like G Money outranked Panther, or if Panther outranks Crypto Coach, the number 1 Crypto Coach. Although Crypto Coach is leading by far, like it's kind of interesting to see like how will that play out, because it's kind of hard on the short term for anyone at this stage to outperform Crypto Coach. So yeah, that's my take on it. And one thing, like going back to your question, I was just looking at the white paper, and yes, it's both the amount of wool staked and the duration. So it's kind of like a weighted average equation at the back end of the code.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks for answering that. I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah.
What about you, Neil? What do you got going on? What do you think is going to happen here in the next, say, 2 or 3 days? I know we're going to do another stream tomorrow, and we'll have that sort of under our belt, but it'd be fun to just see our takes change here.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Things keep on surprising me. I think we are going to see an awful lot of attacks from Shantu. I'm actually finding him quite interesting. And
Yeah, we're going to try to get him on the show. I want to.
yeah, I'd like that too. And I think if I was to sprinkle something, that was the person I was going to sprinkle it with, down the bottom. You know, take just a small punt outside of my, because it's also more to see how they end up at the end. Do you know that way?
Right.
And how big that pouch is compared to, like, if I push a third or a quarter the amount of wool, will I get a pouch of similar size from
Yeah.
from the team coming third or second? You know, and that is possible. So I guess in just to kind of make those experiments, and something else to follow outside the team that I'm mostly invested with. Yeah. So I'm in. Yeah, I think Shamdi is going to go on the attack front solidly, and not care about fortifications. So that's my kind of prediction.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think, if I could see something here, I think that the alliances will sort of begin to reveal themselves slowly here in the next couple of days. I think we'll see where people's alliances are, and I think there will be people that, obviously Corey initially had the target on him, and we can see that with all the moves that were made in the initial sort of round. So let's see if he continues to sort of garner that sort of attention, or if it becomes shifted to other people, and again, how those alliances sort of reveal themselves, because I think everybody in the community would agree that there are alliances, and so once those become revealed, I think the game is going to shift to a more compelling sort of chapter. But in the end, I do like Shamdu. I think that teenager's got some balls, and I like it. He just don't give a fuck, and I can always appreciate that sort of rogue mentality.
Yeah.
But I also like, our leadership is very calm, cool, and collected, and keeping strategy close to the vest, and everybody's sort of sitting back, and I think the community that they have there being who they are sort of really give trust to the leadership that they're going to make the right choice. And in the end, I think that's what's going to bode well for these teams, is just how much faith and trust you have in your leadership to bring it home. So I look forward to seeing how it pans out. Shout out to everybody in the community that's participating and spreading the word and getting more people involved. And that's what's going to make it grow and make this thing really special, and be able to touch as many people as possible. So thank everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil and Rox, for being here.
Yeah, and I'll just sign off by saying big thanks to Roxa for coming on the show again, and also just to everyone who has kind of tuned in and given feedback and stuff. Thanks very much. It's really appreciated. Also, if you do, just like, subscribe, and then also let us know, comment down if there's something you do want us to talk about. If you don't, hit us up in our Discord. You can find that on our Twitters, and from there we do live chats and debates and stuff in the Discord. So good night and good luck.